Hey, how you doing? My name is Cucunato, and what you're about to watch is a video that I made about like 1 or 2 years ago. This is I think like 2 summers ago, more or less. I made a video a while back thinking that I could make like a guitar tutorial series, basically. But I hesitated on releasing it because at the time I was trying to make videos based on what I thought might be kind of popular or something, or might gain some attention that a lot of people would use and come back to regularly, like, you know, an online course kind of thing. But deep down, it wasn't something I genuinely or like really wanted to do, so I felt a little, I don't want to say dishonest, but it just wasn't something that I really wanted to do. So I kind of held off on making it public and finishing the last touches that it needed. But a couple of months ago, I looked back at the video again and I realized, you know, it's almost done. I almost finished the video and I put a lot of work into it, so it'd be kind of a shame to not just post it. So I figured, why let it go to waste? I'll just post it, see how people watch and react to it. It's really simple, super introductory stuff from the beginning. Doesn't even talk about literal guitar playing, but I figured I'll just post it, see how people react to it, and then if people like it and want more, then I guess I could make more later on. So basically in this channel, I'm pretty much only going to upload and do stuff that I genuinely want to do. Or if people request something that I don't have a problem with doing. So something along that line. I don't know. So anyway, watch the video. I hope you enjoy. And I guess if you really like it and want more of it, just let me know. And I guess I may or may not get around to doing it. So enjoy.
Hello and welcome to my first tutorial on how to play guitar for beginners. This video applies for adults who are interested in playing, as well as parents who have kids desiring to learn the guitar, or kids who are smart and self-reliable, the best kind. This video is going to talk about the very structure of the guitar and its parts, so we won't get into any actual playing today. I know you just want to get to the good stuff and be the first one to play Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, but before we do that, it's important we talk about the guitar structure and parts. But I want to be a player, not a builder. Why do I have to know this? Well, mainly 2 reasons. Besides from the fact that knowing each part and its function should just be common knowledge for every guitar player, understanding the structure helps you make self-informed decisions on how to play better and get the most out of your instrument, and to find out which kind of guitar suit you best for your playing. In other words, it's to know how the build of the guitar affects your sound and playing. Just as important as the first reason, if not more important, which parts are most crucial for you to not recklessly damage by leaving the guitar out of its case for some absent-minded soul to come across and trip over. Some parts, while you still shouldn't, are not the be-all end-all should they be damaged. In fact, some can even be replaced, while other parts, if they get damaged, even in the slightest, your guitar is basically totaled. Little side note and disclaimer, even though we are covering only acoustic guitar for this video, the general build of the acoustic guitar is very similar to the electric, so most stuff you learn here will carry over to the electric guitar as well. I'll be sure to point out those differences as we go through. Also, you'll notice that I'm using a nylon string guitar, or classical guitar for this video. There are 2 reasons why I'm using this one. The first is that the classical guitar came out before the steel string and has some significant differences, so it's good to get acquainted with it and to be sure you don't accidentally buy the wrong kind at your local guitar store. Yes, that happens. The second, and most important reason, is that if you have literally never touched a guitar before, let alone played any kind of instrument in the past, then you need to start with a nylon, not a steel string. I can't emphasize this enough. The reason for this is because playing on a nylon will make your life so much easier. Learning and playing on a guitar with nylon strings compared to steel will be much easier and have less resistance on your fingers, making the guitar much easier to play. It's honestly common sense when you think about it. You're literally using the very fingers of your left hand, right, if you're left-handed, to solely press down on the strings. Considering that, what's easier for your little fleshy fingers to press down on? Nylon or steel? So with all that said, let's start from the top. Kind of literally. The top part here, in a flat or somewhat fan-like shape, is the head or headstock. The little knobs on the sides are the tuning pegs or tuning keys. The head of the guitar obviously keeps the strings in place, or tied down on one end of the guitar, and the tuning keys are what you obviously use to tune the strings of the guitar. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you aren't in tune, no one will want to hear you play. This white bar here is called the nut, and it's what holds the strings in place, so they don't move across the fretboard while you play. They also elevate the strings high enough from the fretboard so that they can ring without any excessive buzzing noises. Speaking of, this is the fretboard, also known as the fingerboard. I'd explain what this part does, but if you really have no clue and can't take any guesses, then you may want to stop watching this video right now, sit there, and seriously take some time to reevaluate your life. The metal bars across the fretboard are called frets. You put your fingers between the frets to play the notes you want. If you didn't have frets and instead had lines marked across the board, then you'd be putting your finger on the line instead of between. The guitar I'm demonstrating on now is a fretless bass, which has 4 strings, not 6, because it's the only thing I have to convey my point. If that were the case for regular 6, 7, or even 8-stringed guitars, then guitarists would have a whole other factor to work on: playing in tune. And with even 6 strings to play on, that's no fun. So in other words, the frets get rid of that problem, and it makes playing in tune that much easier. For the most part. Most guitars have these, or they may vary for different kinds, but these dots on the fretboard and on the side of the neck here are called position markers. As you can probably guess, these help you keep track of where your left hand is, or where it should be in order to play whatever songs or pieces you're working on. If you play long enough, eventually you shouldn't even need these, so they are like the training wheels of learning the notes for your left hand. This whole wooden part that connects the head to the body, that's this big part, by the way, is the neck. Kinda makes sense? Inside the neck is the truss rod. This keeps the neck from warping when the weather gets dry, so making sure your instrument is properly humidified is important. We'll cover humidifying your guitar, though in a later video. The circular hole here is called the sound hole, or even the mouth. Now, one big distinguishing factor between nylon strings and steel strings is that nylon strings don't have pick guards, which keep you from scratching your guitar when strumming. The darker piece of wood here that holds down the other end of the strings is the bridge. This is one of the most important parts of the guitar that you don't want to damage, at all. The smaller piece of wood on top of the bridge is the saddle, and similar to the nut, the saddle elevates the strings on the other end so that they won't vibrate on the bridge, while also holding the strings in place. Another key difference between nylon and steel string guitars is that steel string guitars have bridge pins, big pins that help hold the much stronger and tighter steel strings in place. Lastly, while it seems like just extra space on the guitar, this part of the guitar is one of the most important: the soundboard. Because of its bracing inside the guitar, it plays a huge role determining the quality of tone of your guitar and its projection. So this is another part of the guitar that you really don't want to get damaged. Oh, and the whole part that encompasses the top, bridge, and soundboard that's connected to the body is called the top of the guitar. Again, kinda makes sense. So with what we learned, let's talk about how the sound is produced. When you pluck a string, the string vibrates, which is picked up by the bridge. Then through the bridge, the vibrations move throughout the entire guitar, from the body to the headstock, and the vibrations inside the guitar bounce off the walls and come out of the sound hole. If you've ever noticed guitar tuners that are clipped to the headstock, they work by picking up the vibrations to let you know if you are in tune or not. So even if you are in a relatively noisy room, the tuner doesn't need to hear anything per se, but only pick up the vibrations. That's one of the reasons why the bridge is such a crucial part. The electric guitar works very similarly. Instead of the bridge picking up the vibrations, the pickup does, electronically, and those vibrations are carried through the wires inside the guitar and come out through the amplifier, hence pickup. That's also why the electric guitar sounds so quiet when it's not plugged into an amp. Having a solid body, it is difficult for the vibrations to move through a solid body, and there's no sound hole for them to escape through either. That's about everything. If you liked my video, then leave a comment below and give it a like and subscribe. Next, we'll learn about sitting in the correct position and how to hold it properly. Until then, sayonara. That's also why the electric guitar sounds so quiet when it's not plugged into an amp. Having a solid body...